Hello again, this is Maurina. I'm doing a series of follow-up videos. Actually, hello for the first time if this is the first of these videos that you're watching. Anyways, I'm doing a series of short follow-up videos to the Corona Geek Hangout number 152. In that video, I talked about Facebook integration, as it says here. Specifically, I focused on the Facebook plugin and the Facebook Graph API. But in the beginning of the show, I talked about some other options and I sort of breezed through them. I didn't really show the code, and it turns out that the examples were not 100% perfect. So, since the show, I've gone back and corrected the examples, and I have polished things up a bit, added some more documentation, and I just want to demonstrate these things because I feel like I rushed through them in the beginning of that show, and in all honesty, you're better off using these solutions first, and only if you find it completely unsatisfactory to use Activity, Social, those two plugins, then should you try to do something a little more difficult, like the Facebook plugin and create a Facebook application and set up the graph library and use all that. I mean, some folks, you're going to need to do that because you want friends lists and things like that. But if you're just trying to do basic sharing, then you may find that using the social plugin, which I've already talked about in the two other short videos here, or the activity plugin for iOS only might be a better solution just because it's easier and quicker and just all around better than trying to do a very complicated solution. So let me just jump right in. As you can see, I'm showing the page here, but before I look at any of the code, just let me remind you, you can always find my code and the things that I talk about on the Corona Geek Hangout by heading over to github.com RoamingGamer, and then find the repository section. Go ahead and scroll down and click on Corona Geek. Let me open this up a bit. Okay, at this point, if you have the GitHub client installed on OS X or Windows, you can simply clone this. It says clone in desktop, but basically what it means is you're going to clone this repository locally, and then you can just use the client to synchronize every once in a while and get the latest stuff that I've uploaded to the repository. Alternately, if you just want to get it all right now, you don't want the client, just click on download zip. It will get the whole repository. Having said that, I think most people just want the thing that I talked about. So click on Hangouts. You're going to find under here a bunch of different folders for the different Hangouts, things that I've talked about. In this case, I talked about social media. Now, just for you, to make it your life easier, what I do is whenever I update these, I create a zip file that you can download, which will contain everything in the folder. So if you click on social media zip, and then click on raw, this will actually download a zip file containing just the content from the show number 152 and the updates that I've been talking about today. So let's go ahead and take a look at the code. Then I'll come back and show you some documentation. All right. So there are two files. Let me just bring up the folder here briefly. There is, let me drill down. So we start off in social media, which you would have downloaded, or maybe the Hangouts folder. But go to social media and then Corona resources from the blog posts, or from blog posts, because I'm talking about only code that I have updated that I got from the blog posts, and it either wasn't working exactly correctly, or it could just use a little extra polish to make it easier for you to examine. Click on iOS, and we're talking about today the activity pop-up. So as you can see here, there are a number of files and a folder in here. Individual snippets, I cut out the snippets from the article just if people wanted to look at them separately. You don't need to. This is not needed for the project. Build settings, that's an important file we'll look at. Config Lua, it's just a generic config Lua, so you don't really need to look at that. And main Lua. Everything else in this folder is just to support running the application. It gets displayed as a background image, etc., etc. And then some icons to go with it when you build it. Let's see. Okay, so if you're using the activity plugin, there's two basic steps. First, you need to set up your build settings file, and you need to add a plugins section. And in the plugins section, you need to have this statement: Corona provider, native pop-up activity. and publisher ID equals com.coronalabs. That's it. Without that, your application will not be able to, it will not download the plugin, and then you won't be able to require it later. Okay, after that, it's more of a exercise for the reader or listener. Now, I've gone through here. If you look at main Lua, in fact, if you downloaded this code after the Hangout and you're just watching this video, I strongly suggest you go back and download it again, because I have cleaned this up. The header's cleaned up. I put a link to the article so you can read it. And where it made sense, I put links to pages that will help you understand the following section. For example, activity takes this table where you define images and strings and URLs and stuff that you want to pass to it. And then that stuff will get passed to whatever the user selects as the social sharing option. So if they click Facebook, all this will get passed to the Facebook handler and it will do something with it. Let's see what else. Most of this is a very short example. I think this is written by Rob, and I keep saying Rob, and hopefully I'm giving credit to the right person. It's pretty straightforward. Basically what he's got here is a listener called share, and it simply calls the, let me find it, native pop-up. There it is, native show pop-up, and it passes in activity. And then it passes to that, this table with some arguments, the listener, etc., etc. And all of this is activated by a widget share button. So this was not working previously. This is one of those things that I fixed. So I put it back the way it should be, and simply clicking on share will not do anything in the simulator, but I'm going to show you that it works on the device. So when I did the Hangout, I did not have this working. I've got it all working now. This is a reflection of my iPad, and here you can see there's an icon for the activity pop-up, which we're talking about now. So why don't I just click on that, and we'll see what happens. Okay, it looks just like the simulator, except at this point, if I click share, I get the activity pop-up. Let me move this up just a little bit. Okay, so the activity pop-up. Oh, in my last video, I said something that is important, so let me repeat it. I like the activity pop-up because if the users do not have this application installed and they click on it, they will be prompted to install the application. Or at least this was true for the mail client. I was having problems with my mail, and I clicked on it, and the activity plugin did some kind of magic, I don't know, something on the back end, and I was prompted to choose a client to use, at which point it was available then to the social plugin. So I was having problems with the social plugin not using email. I ran the activity plugin example, and suddenly everything was great, which tells me that this is a little bit heftier and it knows how to handle some issues that can come up, like they don't have the application you need installed, so prompt them to install it. So let's just go ahead and do this. Facebook. Okay, so this is very similar to what we saw when we did the social plugin. The rules here still apply. We're not allowed to pre-fill the message. We can pass a URL, and we can pass an image. I believe when I showed this previously, it wasn't working because I was passing the wrong image. So this is working now. Other than that, it's a very basic editor. So. I don't know. Depends on your usage. Let's go ahead and cancel that. And click share again. And Twitter. Okay, Twitter I like because Twitter we can fill in the message. Oh, looks like I have, I don't remember, it's -1. I've got one character left. No, it means I'm one character over. Anyways, there we go. I'm at 0. And we can pass an image and no URL. Interestingly, at one point, a long time ago, I think that we didn't have the activity pop-up, but I think social actually allowed us to put a URL in. So things change as you go along. And this is basically what we've got today with iOS 8. So let's go ahead and cancel that. And share. Let's do an email. Boom. Pops up an email client. Passes a message, a URL, an image, and that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and delete that. Hopefully I'm not fading in and out as I talk and look down. And whoops, I didn't do this before, but let's click more and see what we've got. So it looks like I don't have Google Plus installed here. If they had Google Plus or Tumblr or Pinterest installed, those would be options. This is, or the Gmail client, wunderbar. So this is just wonderful. This tells me that it's got a lot of choices and it's pretty capable. Let's click done. Let's see what else we got here. More. So, you know what? At this point, I think what you're going to want to do is go ahead and download this, run it, install it, play with it, see what these things do, and go to the documentation. Let me take you there. So, I said this in the last two videos, so forgive me if you've watched them and it's sounding a little repetitive, but if this is your first time through, just let me tell you that you are stuck. If you're stuck, you're trying to figure something out, the best place to go is to the SDK API. I prefer the docs.coronalabs.com daily API. That's the very most up-to-date one. It may even precede the current release. For example, if I were to click this, this may not even be downloadable yet. It's just they do the build process, and the SDK API stuff gets updated before the binary gets dropped sometimes. The point is this is the very latest and up-to-date. Yes, it may not apply to the version you're using, but my point here is I think you should always be using the latest version if you're trying to use leading cutting-edge features like sharing. If you're trying to stay up to date with the latest sharing features, it makes sense to stay up to date in the latest version of Corona. Having said that, once you get here, there's a section at the top. I think a lot of people miss this, but click on plugins and it will take you to the plugins section. Under here is a social section. Now we're talking about social sharing, but for whatever reason the activity pop-up is under utilities. So click on activity pop-up. It's going to take you to this first section here, which tells you basically what I said before, how to set this up in build settings. And then there's two functions associated with this. Now I said this already, but I think that the guys who are doing the documentation, the guy or guys, gal, not sure, brilliant. What they've done is they've got this link that looks like a generic link to native show pop-up. But what it is really is if you click it, it gives you the activity-specific variant of the documentation. So this documentation is specific to native show pop-up past the activity target, the activity name. So if activity were in here, this is what we're talking about. So take the example that I've given you, drill down to this, and then just start plugging away. One of the things that I noticed just as I was getting ready to do this video is look at this long list of choices we've got here. Now I went with the generic activity, but it looks like it's possible for us to specifically choose one or to say that we don't want it in our list. So you can, if you remember, we look back in this list or this code here, there was the excluded activities. Now UE activity type copy paste board. Let's take a look. Paste. There it is. So it looks like you can include specific ones or you can exclude specific ones or some mix of those two. Very powerful. It's very nice in that way, so you can narrow it down to just what you're trying to do. Camera roll, context, Vimeo, quite a few. All right. I think that's enough for this. I'm going to go ahead and commit all this stuff. I'm going to send these videos off to Charles, and either he'll package these up, or if he doesn't want to, I will package them, and they'll get posted. You're watching it, so one of us did. Thanks a lot, and I will talk to you guys on another Hangout in the future. Until then, happy coding. Adios.